Hey guys, welcome back to the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles! In the last episode, we investigated the front part of the pawnbrokery of Mr. Windybanks, and we discovered some blood splatters and so on, and had a little bit of a lesson about stereoscopic view and stuff. But if you want to know about it, so just go back and watch that episode if you haven't already. In this episode, we are going to... we conversed about everything with Iris. We are going to move to the back, to the storeroom, to the back of the shop, and we're gonna do that straight away, of course. So this is the murder scene. 16th April, Windybank's storeroom. Poor Iris. She's clammed up completely. Iris is bound to find this difficult. After all, Mr. Windybank's life was taken in this very room only last night. Ah! Wait, Inspector!
What is it now, Sunshine?
You took one look at me and tried to run away.
You think a Scotland Yard inspector would run away from some jumped-up little defense lawyer, do you? I've never seen her ladyship looking like that before, is the thing. I didn't know what to say to her.
So you weren't running away from me? You were running away from a 10-year-old. I'm afraid this is all a little much for young Iris. Some gentle reassurance might go a long way, perhaps, Inspector.
Huh? Don't trouble yourself unduly, your ladyship. I mean, at least you're not dead, are you?
I don't think that went very well.
Why? Look, I'm in the middle of an investigation here, Sunshine, and I told you not to get under my feet.
And we have investigating to do ourselves. Yes. I'd like to hear more of what the socially inept inspector has to say. Oh, Hurley! And inquire into how Mr. Shorm's operation is going. Well, usually I would check out the place first, but I think that conversing first with Inspector Gregson in this place is just better. The scene of the crime. So, Inspector, what do you make of the crime scene here?
Sure, you've got eyes, haven't you? Use them. It is what it looks like. Nothing more, nothing less.
Iris, could you lend me a hand?
So, Grexy, what do you make of the crime scene here?
Oh, yes, your ladyship. Do allow me to humbly explain. Last night, at shortly after the hour of 1 o'clock in the morning, Scotland Yard police attended the scene. The one and only door to the storeroom was found locked from the inside.
So it was locked from the inside.
The lock appears to be broken, Nova. Was that the police officer's doing?
Quite right, ma'am. Quite right. We took the liberty of smashing the door in, as humbly as possible.
Oh.
As you can see, the victim was discovered prostrate on the floor, thus-wise. And next to the after-mentioned body, we discovered the wild-gutted child.
Are you talking about Chinny? She's my friend, you know, Inspector.
Miss Lestrade, the hapless girl, was curled up on the floor, dead to the world.
She's still alive, you know? Yes, when I saw her, she appeared to be unconscious.
And I'm afraid to say, she had the gun that was used in her hand.
No!
Presumably it's the gun that's still down there on the floor now.
In her pocket, we found the key to the door as well.
What? The key to the storeroom?
Oh, that was me, sorry.
And just say the storeroom had been locked from the inside, Inspector.
Correct. All of which leaves her ladyship's friend in something of a sticky situation, I'm afraid. Obviously, my personal opinion is that it's all some sort of misunderstanding.
Of course it is, Inspector. Of course it is. Alright, so let's talk about Sholmes's operation.
Rexy, do you know anything about Hurley? Is the operation finished? Is Hurley alright? Is he?
The thing is,
Don't mince your words, Inspector, please. You don't mean to say that Mr. Sholmes is...
No. The operation's done and dusted. It's just that, well...
Out with it!
Yes, ma'am. They use something called a general anesthetic. It's the latest thing, renders the whole body insensitive.
The whole body? Anesthetized? Is that even possible?
It means the operation can be completed while the patient is fast asleep.
Goodness, in the Empire of Japan we can just manage to provide laughing gas for a tooth extraction.
The trouble is, the latest thing isn't always the greatest thing if you follow my meaning. They couldn't get the medication to work at first, so it took hours for him to nod off, or so I hear. And now that the OP is finished, they can't get him to wake up, apparently.
Oh my!
No one knows if it's the anesthetic still in his system or if the bloke's just plain exhausted. But anyway, all they can do is stand back and watch until he comes around again.
Hurley!
The moment he opens his eyes, your ladyship, I swear I shall get word to you.
What a surprise. Even in matters of life and death, Mr. Sholmes has to do things his way. Alright, so we talked about everything. Let's try to present him some stuff. For example, the pawnbroker's ticket with the blood splatter on it. Inspector Gregson, could you give me your opinion about this, do you think? Okay, so can we... Nah, okay, so we can skip it. That means there is nothing he can tell us. So we're just gonna skip ahead. Yes, well, okay, we did it. What about this? Okay, same thing goes here, so... That means... Okay, so the animation takes some time, I'm sorry. We already showed those, right? Yes, we did. Okay, so he's gonna drink a lot of tea. He has to use the bathroom pretty soon, I guess. This should be the same thing then. Okay, Inspector, what do you make of this?
Ah, what have we here then? A redemption ticket for an article deposited here, is it? Looks like someone ran out of office stationery and wrote the ticket on whatever paper was to hand.
Yes, this is the ticket for Miss McGillet's overcoat. The one that little driver turned up with yesterday. Oh, actually no, it's not.
Really? Think you know better than me, do ya?
No, I didn't mean to,
Bruno's right, Grexy. It isn't the same ticket.
Of course it isn't. Of course it isn't. I never doubted you, your ladyship. So, what's all this about then, if I might be so bold as to ask?
This is a second ticket.
A second one?
It seems that Mr. McGillet, in fact, had another article in storage here at Windybanks.
Is that right?
I think we need to discuss this further with the inspector, Mr. Naruhodo.
Oh good, because he's ever so easy to talk to. Alright, that means we have an... Oh, okay. Well done, Rinosuke. Let's go, the second redemption ticket. This ticket was in one of the pockets of Mr. McGillet's overcoat.
Ah, you mean to tell me?
Yes, there was more than just the music box disc, it seems.
I should have insisted on the lads taking it back to the yard and examining it properly.
Well, according to the details on this ticket, Mr. McGilded deposited another article here with Mr. Windybank.
Yes, I can see it written here. A small box, was it?
Do you have any idea where it is, Grexy? Any idea at all? It's another article belonging to Mr. McGilded. It could be an important clue.
Well, yes, I suppose it could be. Please, stop looking at me with those big turquoise eyes, all full of hope and expectation. It's too much pressure. I'll lose me marbles, I will. I'll go barking.
This is no time for dog impressions, Inspector.
That's enough sauce from you, sunshine. There is one thing that springs to mind. According to this ticket, the redemption deadline's already passed, hasn't it?
Oh yes, of course. Articles are only held for 2 months. So the small box will no longer be in here then?
That's right, it's been forfeited.
Which means it could be on the shelves in the front of the shop where the forfeited items are offered for sale.
Yes, the shelves in the front. We must search them at once.
You're wasting your time.
Oh,
There are dozens of little boxes out there, hundreds even. We can't possibly know which one might have been Mr. McGilded's. The information's not written in the ledger.
well, I think we should at least have a look, just in case.
Of course, your ladyship, of course. Very sensible of you, I'm sure.
This is getting old. Alright, so we know about that, so we will return to the front side of the store. But for now, it's time to examine a little bit here. Okay, so let's have a look at the paintings here. Look at all these articles that have been deposited. The room is stuffed full of them.
I can't believe how many there are. A bicycle, a gramophone, musical instruments, even some enormous paintings, look.
Pieces of different people's lives quietly gathering dust in here together. There's something very peaceful about the atmosphere in here. Or at least there would be if not for the chalk outline on the floor and the policemen shuffling around.
Not much I can do about that, sunshine.
That is true. Okay, so... Alright. So that's almost everything already. That is a little disappointing. Because we have this box here. The gun and the outline. But we're gonna check out the box first. Out of all the articles in the storeroom, this is the only thing that shows any sign of being ransacked.
Ah!
What is it, Iris?
That's the box file that my manuscript was being kept in. Oh,
Iris's unpublished story, The Hound of the Baskervilles. Surely that's not what all this...
Sorry, Iris, but if you ask me, it sold it. Without telling you.
we must check inside the box at once. Yes. Oh! It was there. Iris' story was there.
Really, it was? Well, that's good news, isn't it, Iris?
Yes. I mean, of course I believed Hurley when he said he'd deposited here, but still. It's a relief to actually see it.
Really, because that's not a very well hidden frown. Iris' manuscript has been entered in the court record. Iris' story manuscript. A long unpublished story that Mr. Sholmes has deposited at the pawnbrokery of the victim, Mr. Windybank. It's entitled The Hound of the Baskervilles. Okay, I'm going to go to the court record immediately and have a look at this. So, okay. But it seems like we... Wait. The Hound of the Baskervilles. how did Susato's son know the exact title of his unpublished story? I suppose I'll just have to wait until she's ready to explain it to me.
I'm so sorry.
Okay. But we can't examine anything else. Seems to be very long though. As far as I remember, it's just a short story. I mean, the real one, the Hound of Baskerville. From the real Sherlock Holmes, so... Okay, so let's have a look at the gun. This is a revolver, a real one.
And quite possibly the murder weapon used to take Mr. Wendybank's life. What's the matter, Susie? You and Bruno look like you're about to faint. Well, it's just that I've rarely seen a gun in the flesh.
And I've had issues with guns in the past. But anyway, we saw Mr. Windybank with this yesterday, didn't we? That is true. Yeah.
I shall have to take my own life.
It must be the same gun. And last night, when I looked through the spy hole in the door to the storeroom here, that was the same gun I saw in Gina's hand.
Mr. Windybank told us that he only ever had a single bullet loaded in his revolver, didn't he? Well, it's empty now. The one and only bullet in the air to his gun has been fired.
So we can be fairly certain that only a single shot was fired from this revolver. Alright, it didn't even enter the court record. Okay, let's have a look at the outline. The police have marked the position of the body with a chalk line.
Poor Mr. Windybank, he was a nice old man.
Well, he was shot just once, through the heart. Most likely, the fellow died instantly. He wouldn't have felt a thing.
This must be his blood then.
Oh! I don't like to ask at such a wretched time, Iris, but I wonder if, perhaps... Don't worry, Susie. I'm ready for action!
Okay, so this turned blue. So now we know the color of the chemical turns when it reacts with Mr. Windybank's blood.
And it doesn't match our analysis for the bloodstain we found in the main shop. No, but let's add this sample to the others we've already collected anyway.
The blood samples portfolio has been updated in the court record.
Oh! I nearly jumped out of my skin there! How could Mr. Windybank set such a wicked trap?
I doubt he set out to scare anyone.
Is that really the time? I think perhaps we should pay Gina another visit soon.
Oh?
Her trial is tomorrow. You must establish whether or not you will be defending her. I think we should ask her one more time. She may have changed her mind. Don't you remember, Bruno? You told her she could rip up the representation papers if she didn't want you to be here, her lawyer.
Really? Did I say that?
Yes, you did! The deadline for submitting the paperwork is fast approaching.
In that case, we had better hurry back to the prison and talk to Gina again. Yes, but before we do that, we'll have to have a look in the pawn shop once again, because there might be... Aha! So there is still something that we can check out, and we're gonna do that for sure. Let me be thorough though. Okay, nothing here, so we're gonna check out this.
Yes, this is where the items that have been forfeited by the original owners are offered for sale. That's right, they've all got little price labels on them, but there are so many.
I wonder if the small box that this ticket was for is still on the shelf somewhere. The box that Miss McGill had deposited here just over 2 months ago.
Even if it were, finding it promises to be very troublesome indeed. There are so many boxes. It could be any of them.
Mr. Shaw said that a pawnbroker's was the safest place to store anything, more secure than a bank's vault. So perhaps this small box of Mr. McGillis contains something of very great value.
Well, if that's the case, he'd probably have kept it locked.
So then we need to find every box with a lock and break them all open.
That sort of misconduct would get you arrested. I won't let that happen.
This takes me back. It's been some time since Susato-san last threw me. Well, I guess there is nothing to do here then. Which means we are going to Gina right away. Let's go to the prison.